I walk every day. I live in a beautiful area on Dartmoor. If I know I'm preparing for a batch of saggar-fired work, I will collect any plants whose shapes I love. And I've collected many, many things over the years. I have fired with mushrooms, ferns with spore prints have shown. I've even used dock leaves, which are a cobweb of lace, and that has come out on the pot. I've wrapped my pots in rhubarb leaves. I use anything that I find attractive and pretty or that will give me an interesting result. I saggar fire. A saggar is a container that was traditionally used to protect pots from the ash and flames in coal and wood-fired traditional kilns. For contemporary work, they are now have been used to create surface pattern by putting the pots inside with combustible material, which vaporise and fume into the pot, creating unique patterns and colour and texture sometimes. I found stainless steel or galvanised steel beer kegs were great. They last for ages, so I use beer kegs. All my pieces are thrown on the wheel. I like Greek and Roman's traditional form and creating a very smooth surface on which to get patterns that come from saggar firing. I use a metal rib to smooth the surface, slightly burnish, especially if the clay is a little bit rough. I then brush on porcelain slip that's been sieved. I do about 3 layers until it gets very smooth, and then I'll wait for that to dry and sand it, and that's prepared the surface for applying terra sigillata. Terra sigillata is a general term for ancient Roman pottery with glossy surface. It's roughly translated as sealed earth, but the meaning of terra sigillata is clay bearing little images. I make my terra sigillata from the wild clays of Devon and one from Cornwall. Some of them are granite clays, some of them are ball clays, and it's an ongoing, very exciting and inspiring process because there's mud everywhere. Once I've added the blue-black terra sigillata on the neck and the foot, I spray layers of different Devon terra sigillata clays onto the pot. Once they've been sprayed onto the pot, they're then polished. They're such fine particles that a gentle polish with a sponge inside a plastic bag or a microfiber cloth will bring out the sheen. Once I've applied all the different terra sigs, it's left to dry and put through a bisque firing. I fire to 980. I go quite slowly, between 65 and 80 an hour to 600, and usually a hold, around 20-minute hold. Once I've got the plants back to the studio and the pot prepared, I will choose the plants I've collected, just what I think will work on that pot, the size of it, and will work with the pot shape. I place the plants around the pot on top of the fabric. I put the pot in the middle and wrap the fabric around the pot, holding the plants in place. I just use my t-shirts. Sometimes I dye them with a little bit of iron oxide and some Epsom salts to add some deeper, rich colour. Obviously this is all going to burn away throughout the firing. So I place about 2.5 to 3 inches of wood shavings in the bottom of the pot. I add some oxides, copper sulfate, iron oxide, pieces of dried seaweed will go in the mix. And for this latest series of work, I do not want many smoke markings at the bottom where the piece would sit inside the sawdust. So I put them on little kiln bricks so they're raised up. I also have some hay, which I've coloured with a bit of iron oxide and copper carbonate, and sprinkle that around the top. I then place the saggar inside the gas kiln, put kiln shelves on top. There is airflow from the top because the top of the saggar is not completely flat. I want some air, but not too much. Once the kiln is lit, the front bung is halfway out, so some oxygen is going in, and I keep the burners down as low as I can. Around 530 to 600 I will start reducing it lightly, which in this kiln is to slightly close off the chimney and slide the damper on the burners. and I just give it some light reduction. The saggar creates its own reduction, but I add some reduction with my kiln. I'll go into full reduction around 800 degrees. Take it up to 870, between 870 and 900, and oxidize for 20 minutes. I hold it for 20 minutes at top temperature. I close everything down, bung up the chimney, bung up the baffle, shut my little kiln shed doors, and leave it overnight. The following morning, I will go and check the temperature on the kiln to ensure that it's cool enough to open, and we'll open it around 30 degrees if that's what's showing on my pyrometer. Every firing is different. Every firing I'll learn something. A lot of firings I will try something a tiny bit different, just because it keeps me really, really interested. Also with the wild clay Terra sigillatas, I don't know how they're going to react with the oxides, so that's always something unique that I can look forward to. I will gently wash them under a tap and wipe off any carbon that is left on there, and wash them out on the inside and leave them to dry. Once they're dry, I apply Renaissance wax to bring out the colour, to seal them on the outside, and I seal them on the inside with a stone floor or concrete sealer. The mix of the wild clays and the plants connects me totally to Dartmoor. It's the excitement every time of opening that kiln, of using the clays in different combinations, how they look when they're fired to when I first find some mud on the ground. I love the process. And when I have the final piece, it gives me a great sense of satisfaction.